DOTE.
Good afternoon or good morning, everyone. This is our first webinar on our software DOTE. The webinar is being recorded and will be uploaded to YouTube afterwards, as some people have had difficulties in joining us this evening or morning. We have a few things to tell you in the beginning, and then we will transfer into a demonstration of DOTE. And then we will have a Q&A session in the end of that. I will just need to show you this. So if you have any questions along the way, we really recommend that you use the chat, and we will try to address as many of them as possible. And also, I see some of you are turning on videos. Until now, it's okay, but if we experience any lag on the line, then we would really like that you turn off the videos when we do the demonstration, at least. So we will host this basic introduction, then we will do a live demonstration, and then the Q&A, and then a wrap up in the end. So I think we should also do a brief round. I would like Paul to introduce himself.
Yeah, my name is Paul McIlvenny, and as you can see, design and documentation video tutorials, which you might have seen some of, along with Jakob. So I work very closely with Jakob. I'm a professor here in Aalborg University, and I'll hand it back to Jakob.
Yes, and my name is Jakob Davidsen. I am an associate professor here in Aalborg University, working as a co-designer production and also doing some video tutorials, and then handling the social media. And then I will hand it over to Alex.
Hello, I'm Alex Stein. I'm also working at Aalborg. I was brought on as a software programmer and researcher to pick up where DOTE was left off by the previous programmer, Artur, who got this started. And well, trying to make transcription fun again, as they say.
As they say, yes. And as Alex said, we also have Jonas. He's a student assistant working on the UI and license manager. And then Artur was our first programmer developing DOTE. So just briefly about the DOTE universe, we have our DOTE software. There's a free version, there's a pro version, and there's also the DOTE Pro community. All of these can be downloaded or purchased on our web shop at doteau.dk. So that is our web shop. I will just briefly show you that in a minute. Then we have our online help guide, which is updated frequently. All questions related to DOTE will most likely be answered using the online help guide. We have many key features described and available in this online help guide. Then we have our YouTube channel, where we have lots of different tutorials showing how you can work with DOTE. Then we have a Discord server for announcement, chats, and discussions, which we hope that some of you will join. And then we also have our GitHub repository, where we track bugs, fixes, and releases, so you can also follow along on that. So let me just see if I can find it here. So this is the DOTE webshop. I hope you see my browser now. Alex, can you not? Good. So this is the web shop. We have all the different information about DOTE on our web shop. You can find links to the video tutorials and documentation of DOTE. And you can also get a copy of DOTE. We have the DOTE free version you can download for free. Different things apply to that. And then we have the DOTE Pro and then the DOTE Pro community. We also have our YouTube channel, where we share all our different tips and tutorials on how to use DOTE. And we try to update this as frequently as possible when there are new things that we want to tell you about DOTE. And also, if there's something you would like to learn more about, then we are also keen on getting suggestions on what tutorials to develop in the future. And the final thing I want to show you is our online help guide here, where you can find all kinds of information about how to use DOTE, which conventions that we support, and so on and so on. So this is really also a nice place where you can find all the different things related to DOTE. And I will head back to the slides. So these are important links to look at when you want to learn more about DOTE or get in touch with us as a research community. So just a final thing before we head into the demonstration of DOTE. We are really passionate about crafting different software solutions to build infrastructure to support qualitative methods. Earlier on, in 2021, we released AVA 360 VR, which is a software engine for working with 360-degree video in virtual reality, a very powerful tool for doing exactly that. And now we have released DOTE. And we're really under pressure financially from the university. So we want also to develop a sustainable model for licensing DOTE. So that is also why there's a price for the Pro and Pro Community Pro version, as we spend a lot of hours in this project, and we're really not making any personal benefit at all. We are all the money is going straight back into the project so we can develop and enhance DOTE and also our future projects to cater the needs of researchers in qualitative research. Yes, so just some basic features. I think you have maybe already seen that on the website. We of course support 360-degree video. You can work with multi-video playback. And Paul will take you into these different things in a minute. We have smart auto completion, version control, and so on and so on. So there's a lot of different things that DOTE support compared to traditional transcript software. So it's really enhanced and geared towards supporting qualitative research and especially EMCA type of work that we want to support in the best possible way. Yes. I think it's time for a live demo, Paul. So I will stop sharing the slides.
Yeah, and I will share. We'll try to share. So you should all see the screen now. Is that okay, Jakob?
Yes, that's perfect.
Great, and you'll see here my cursor, this ball here moving around, and you might see when I type, you'll see some things appearing down the bottom, the keys that I'm pressing. Now, if you've seen any of the videos on YouTube, then you will have seen this for Jakob or my videos that we've made. I think we have about 44 videos there, so there's a lot of content, and we're definitely trying to give you a number of resources, both the online help guide and the videos to be able to crack DOTE, to be able to get started, because it has a particular model that we have decided over a number of years of how we would like to have this software. So we've really much built it to do things that we didn't think that any other software out there really supported. And that means it does some things really well, brilliantly, and it doesn't do other things. And that might be a question that you have, wondering, does it do this? Does it do that? So some immediate question might be, well, does it do AI? Does it recognize speech? No, it doesn't. It doesn't do that at all. We're not interested in that. We don't think that's really feasible, especially for the type of data that we normally work with, which you're seeing here. So if you've got any questions like that, then you might want to ask a question about that. So if you open DOTE the first time, you don't see this unless you've imported this Lego demo project, which is a project we give for free, so that you can quickly get started seeing some of the complexity. And then to do that, if you go to the file menu at the top, you can see you've got import project from file, as well as export project to file, and import transcript from file and export to file. So if you get a project from somewhere, from somebody else, or you get a transcript inside a project you already have, which has all the media, because projects contain the media and the transcripts are just a single transcript. So you can import it. And if I choose import from here, then I could find a project like this, import it, and then get going. And so if I then open a project, you'll see here, I'm just keeping this Lego project in something called My DOTE projects. It could be anywhere. This happens to be on an external drive, an SSD drive I have separately. It's not on my computer, and I could store it anywhere, but we prefer that you don't store these on shared spaces or cloud services because they're very, very slow, which causes all sorts of problems with playback. And if they're shared, and then what happens when two people edit at the same time? So this is very much a local supported on your desktop. The data is not uploaded anywhere. It's not on the cloud. It's so it's protected in terms of privacy and security. It's as safe as your computer is in terms of GDPR, etc. And here you see, this is the Lego demo project. I have a little extra one here because a student was doing a bit of extra work on the Mondaden one, so we could just see that if we wish to. And so I'm currently in the free version. I just canceled that, and if you take a look in the license manager, this is the unactivated version. It has a license key ready, but I haven't activated it. It's unlicensed, and you can see up here it says unlicensed. So this is the DOTE free version. And that means I can open projects. I can go and open the free demo here. If I do that, it then immediately, you notice it says transcripts are limited to 200 lines. That's one of the restrictions. So we built it, the DOTE free version, you can do nice short transcripts and work on those, edit them, get all the help and assistance the DOTE supplies for either a Jeffersonian conventions or Mondadian conventions, which we support both of those, and all the way through to exporting and publishing. But there are some limitations along the way. So, but it means that students can definitely use this, as we have many students in Aalborg University using this right now, and they can use that even if they have the free version to complete a transcript. It means that this transcript is longer, and if I go down to the end, you see it says unlicensed versions. It's been truncated. So that's one of the restrictions. And here we have a version which I open the media manager. When you create a new project, you've got to import some media. And here we've already got 6 different media imported. And this is the project you can download from our web shop and have all this media. This is all open access. We have it under a Creative Commons license. It's all on a database on an open science website. And so you can download this as long as you credit us if you use it in any way. Standard Creative Commons license. So here you can see we have some 360 camera footage. We have some 2D camera footage. We've chosen some projections that we'd like. We've see the file size here, and we're choosing 2. If we try to choose another one, you'll see we get a warning that you need to purchase the DOTE Pro license in order to be able to add more active media. So we can have 2 at a time in the DOTE free version. So those 2 are currently active, and this is the same one we can see here. This is a secondary video view. This is your primary video, so you can open up a nice secondary view. You get a nice timeline here. These 2 views are independent, so I can actually move this one around. You can see it's a 360 camera, so I can look elsewhere in the room. And these will run independently of each other. And I can also have a different camera here. In fact, I have 2 choices. As you saw, only 2 active media. I could choose this camera here, and I can see another view, which is a camera on the table that's over here. You can see just here. So I can see these both at the same time. I've got a nice waveform here. I've got a bunch of sync codes. We call sync codes. These are so you can calibrate your transcript as it's emerging. So it's synced into your waveform. So you can click anywhere. For example, I can see P2 arrives at the table. I can click there. If I play that, actually, I need to. Oh yeah, of course, this is not going to show you the full stuff because this is the DOTE free version. So it's not got the nice switching to another camera. That's just the whole point of this. I just wondered where we were for a moment. But if I go to here, she's about to run Tracker, which is using the video cues down here. This is a sort of cinematic way of doing nice jump cuts and pans and zooms that you can automate yourself, and you can turn on and off in any of these views. I can say I want this one here to also show that, or I can go back to what it was showing before. That means you can have 2 independent views of either one camera zoomed in on somewhere else. For example, here I could move into this one. If I want to see that one and zoom in, I can just choose it here and say, I want to look over here. It's in the same camera view. If I just switch it around over here, you'll see there she is. So I can say, no, I want to look over here at the same time and play that. So I have a lot of choices here about, especially if I've got multiple cameras. But if it was the same camera view, which is this is the identical camera, then if I move it to this one, you'll see it's identical camera. I can move it here and then zoom in, for example, so I could see a little bit closer what she's doing at the same time as it's playing. The idea of this Lego game here is just a game we invented so that we would have to be able to use multiple cameras to be able to follow what was going on. So it's just an invented game. So waveform, you can zoom in on the waveform and see a bit closer. You can see it's just about to come up to a sync code here. So we'll see that. You'll see here we're currently at this point rearranging. So you can see it's got a translation subtier here for everything because it's in Danish. They're speaking in Danish. It's and you might wonder, okay, well, you've set everything up. You've done your transcript. It looks a bit ugly with this .eng. It could be dot in any language here using a standard 3-letter convention. It's up to you. You can see if we go to transcript options, we've added it here as a translation subtier. So it's automatically generated. If, for example, I go to this point here and I say, oh, I can't because I'm just going to get out of this. I'll just activate the license. You'll see it's activated now. And now I can add lines. Now, if I type, you'll see it's suggesting, okay, maybe you want R1. R1 could be a person that you want to because you've got R1s have been mentioned. P, well, you've got a lot of Ps, so maybe you want one of these. It will do a nice autocomplete there, as you can see. Everything's lined up nicely. It's got a tab here. You always have to use a colon and a tab. And then it adds the translation subtier automatically if you wish. And then you could type your transcript, type the translation. And that's just done. And then maybe it's the next person is R1. If you just want a translation subtier, you can just choose that. For some reason, you missed it out. Or there are others which are suggesting more sophisticated system, and that's leading into the Mondadian conventions where you have multiple action subtiers, figure subtiers, as well as translation and gloss subtiers. And we support all 4 of those different type of subtiers. And you may think, well, that's going to look pretty ugly if you've got lots of this stuff hanging around. But as it's to move towards publication, you can go export to RTF. And here you'll see, I just take all of this off. So we'll see it as plain as possible. This is what you'll see with the basic version, with the free version. I notice it's it's rolling around here because I've got a fairly large tab size. I could reduce the tab size, reduce the font size. And what we're seeing here is exactly what it's going to look like in Word or any other word processor. RTF is a standard, very basic, but well established over many years, 30 years or so, format that any word processor can open. So this exports, this is exactly what you will see. It's a live preview, and you can see everything is there. But if I start to say I want to export without the subtier labels, and you can only do this in the DOTE Pro version, then you can say, okay, well, I've just eliminated those. And also, if I want to export with a bit of formatting, then I can have a bit nice formatting, and then I might want to have a particular line numbering like this, which is only on the primary lines in a neighborhood, the head of a neighborhood. And in fact, I could take off number only, comment only lines. So any comments, I don't want to have line numbers, or I do. So you've got a bunch of choices here. You can keep technical comments, which then adds in back the metadata at the beginning and any comments you've added using this // and you've got a bit of syntax highlighting. If I take this off, you'll see the syntax highlighting. Then I could take that off and just have it extremely plain if I want. And you just select what you want here, get it to look nice, and export as RTF, open it in Word. It's publishable. So that's the basics of starting off and getting your media in, setting up your views, starting transcribing, syncing with sync codes to your waveform, and then the video cues you can add. So you get a little bit of interesting things happening. I'm going to open up a bit of a more sophisticated one, this Jeffersonian Pro. It asked me, do I want to save those changes? I don't want to. And what we'll do is just oops, take a look here at these two. If we play now up to about this point when she runs, you'll see what happens when we hit one of these video cues. I'm just going to zoom in a bit here.
Go.
And there, you saw what happened as we hit the video cues down here. You can see as I move through, it will switch to the other camera, and it continues on with that camera view. And that was just done automatically. I'm not doing anything. So that means you can set up for presentations or for different transcripts. All you can do is go to save as new transcript, and then you can decide to keep everything, and then you can just add a new video cues and move them around to set up a whole new way of showing off your transcript to highlight particular phenomena. And you can see that with every one of the examples we have, they have a slightly different configuration of video cues according to whether it's in the free version or the pro version. Okay, that was just running through. There is a whole bunch of other things. There's auto backup. You'll see there's no backups here. There's one a month ago because we've not made any changes, and that's just being done automatically. And there's also something called checkpoints. So checkpoints, you can see there was something done a month ago here. Maybe if I open up a different one, I'm going to open up another project with the free demo with errors. We have made some where you have to creatively find the errors. DOTE can help you. You can turn off those so you don't see them, and then you could try and find them yourself as a little game. We suggest this is a good Christmas party game for when things are getting a little boring at Christmas with all the family. And here you can see something's gone wrong here. Maybe there's something missing. It says, okay, maybe you've got a missing closing symbol. This is a little warning saying, maybe you need an overlap end here because you've already got one up above. It says 2.2 seconds. It hasn't quite completed. This one here, missing overlap end symbol. Not missing overlap end, sorry, missing is we have a double bracket here and we have only a single here. So you can get some idea of the types of errors. But if we look at the checkpoints, then 6 months ago, I made those errors and I made a separate checkpoint, which I called it with a new name, a new message, identifying these. So if I go back and look at say one of the first ones, missing closing softener, then now it's opening. If I say display changes, which is in the pro version, what you'll see is that you get some idea with red is different colors of red show you things that lines have been deleted or particular characters, and green is showing you lines that have been added or particular characters. And you can see what I did. I deleted this character. This is what was ended up. And if we look at just what it looks like here, then you can see it's missing there, and it shows you that error. You could actually play this while you're in this mode here. You can actually play. And here it's very soft. She's saying, I'm seriously competitive to one of the other players. So checkpoints, you can actually go back and say, I want to have this transcript. I don't want all these changes afterwards. And you can make a new transcript or reset your transcript. So you can do that with auto backups as well. So you can create your own system. And in fact, we can actually use that with students. So I'll just finish off if I leave this mode, leave checkpoint mode, and then I'll just open up a project that a student was working on. And here in the Mondadian system, you can see it's quite complex. She's been adding some extra lines for me and adding a lot of sync codes, and she had a few video cues. I can see there's some errors there. Maybe I'll just turn those on because I had the DOTE free version on, and now it's going to work. And if we look at checkpoints, you'll see this was some of her commentary of what she was doing about how she was adding on and finishing off, adding the Mondadian system conventions for a few extra lines beyond what we have in the Lego demo project. So I can go back and look at those. I could make changes. I could correct them, which I'm going to do. There are some mistakes, and I can make comments in all sorts of ways. For example, I might say, well, here, I prefer, and I can add this as a technical comment and then add that, and I can actually make the changes here, save that as a new checkpoint, and every single change I make, I can add some commentary on that. So that's just showing you some of the features. And maybe now we could sort of switch to a Q&A. I think there are some questions here. Shall I pick up on some of those, Jakob and Alex? I see.
Yeah, please
Alex
go ahead,
has
Paul.
been replying to some of those, but Justin and Harlan have asked too. So Justin asked, quick question about video files and uploading. Are there some file types that aren't supported or need conversion, or is there a length size limit? Well, I think we can both answer. I think we could all answer that, but I'll let Alex answer that so I can shut up for a little while.
That's fine. While we recommend your standard MP4 H.264 internet compatible format will be the smoothest, we do support a lot of video formats. This program is built on a framework that's very similar to a web browser like Chrome. So if your video will play in a web browser, it'll probably play in DOTE just fine. However, our waveform, when it analyzes it may have some trouble with some formats over others. So if you have the option to convert to a standard H.264 MP4, that will be guaranteed to work. Beyond that, trial and error, see what will show. And I'll be curious to find out if you have some formats that don't work.
Yeah, and I would add that sometimes people think that they can just take the raw footage from a camera, like a 360 camera or an ordinary 2D camera, and just use that raw footage, which most players will not play at all on any desktop. So they usually have to be processed in some way by the software the manufacturer gives with the camera. So there are some pretty weird formats, and DOTE won't cope with that, just like VLC or any other player won't cope with that. So
if you're
you
using
need to export it.
Yeah, if you're using an Insta360 or a GoPro Max or something, both come with programs to convert from their proprietary format to what's called an equal rectangular format, which is just kind of perhaps, Paul, you can switch.
Yeah, I do it here. You can see if I zoom out of this, you'll see this is an equirectangular. This is equirectangular format here, which you can see is pretty weird when you use it.
Virtually all the formats, all the cameras will be able to convert to this format, and we can support it once you do that.
Yeah, and then you can just zoom in and out, and you can change the type of projection. You can see the types of distortion that 360 cameras give. If we change to our own projection, you'll see it gives a different type of distortion that can actually make it easier for some types of viewing. And then there's a Lambert azimuth, then that does another type of thing. What it does, it makes some things less bendy in certain dimensions than others. And so you just can choose which one you want.
And as for length or size limit, there is no size limit. It's whatever your operating system can handle. Obviously, if you have some very high bitrate files and you're playing 3 or 4 of them at the same time, you might start getting some lag. So I often will recommend that people will convert it to something they're comfortable working with. But if your computer can handle 6 4K files, great. Have fun.
Yeah, we have a video in YouTube about problems you might have with importing. One thing you might want to do, we have our own waveform creator, and the video player is built into the system we're using. But you might need to make the waveform appear, you might need to download FFmpeg, which is behind most software that plays video on desktops, Mac and Windows.
Including Chrome itself builds it in.
Yeah, and VLC, which most people might use. So, so you can download it here. If you click this button, and then it will download it for you, because it's not that we're not allowed to include it, because it would have to be completely open source software for us to include it. So you have to do that manually yourself. And then if that doesn't work, you can then use Handbrake. And we have a video showing you how to use Handbrake, which is free, open source, trustworthy software that allows you to quickly transcode it into a format that DOTE will be able to import. These are all problems because there are so many formats for video out.
There's a question about making video queues. Paul, if you could just really quickly make one video queue.
Should we go through the order though?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
That's the next one down. Actually, no, sorry, there's one on checkpoints as well. Why is checkpoint so prominent?
Yeah, well, because we call it distributed open transcription environment, behind the scenes, you have to install, if you want to use checkpoints, you have to install Git. And Git you might not have heard of, but almost all software developed now by even companies, let alone open source, is done on Git. Git is a way to track everything. It's really quite brilliant, and we use it to track all of our software development. It's quite complicated to understand, so we've done a very simple implementation called checkpoints. And that means, like auto backups, if you click on auto backups and checkpoints, you can have an automatic saving of a copy and have multiple copies that you can always go back to if something goes wrong. And checkpoints allows you to do that manually. So it's like giving some sort of name or message for the little change you made. And we would recommend that you do that and try and get into the mode of doing that, because it means you can go back over things yourself personally on your local machine and see what actual changes you made to your transcript. I'm sure all of us have had that, like, what the hell did I do yesterday? I don't recognize what I did here. It's what did I actually change? And it's impossible to know unless you've made lots of draft versions using your word processor, if you're using a word processor to transcribe, as many of you might do. So it allows you to go back and see changes that you've made. And I showed you that just now. So checkpoints, we feel that we should all be moving towards some sort of version control system. It's going to take a lot of work to move people in that direction. And we've tried to implement it in a simple way. So hopefully that gives you some idea. So the video cues, you see down here, we have these video cues. For example, if I go in this big long patch here, I can just click in here and you can see, you know, this is zoomed in nicely. We want to see what's going on, but let's say we want to see where their face is at this point. Well, we can't zoom out and zoom in at the same time. But if I open up a secondary video, you can see we have another camera there. Now, let's say that wasn't the camera we wanted. We wanted a different camera, for example, the Panasonic. This one is that camera here. It is the Panasonic, so I don't want that one. Let's say we'd like to have this one, the GoPro, on the table. You can see that gives us a certain angle. Maybe that's good enough. Maybe we want to zoom in a bit. So we want to get them, and then we see their hands here. What I can do is add a video cue here. And that now, if I choose that one, that's the G1 T1 GoPro. And of course, we've got lots of choices here. That's this camera. I want to have this camera showing, and I want to have a jump cut to this camera. There's no smooth transition because it's a new camera. And if I save that now, oh, that's that. Now it's gone to this one because it always goes to the primary. It was not to this one. Then that's now that camera there, and I can zoom it out a bit. So we get them maybe a bit like this, and I can just edit that. I can go back and set that to the current view, and that's now set for that view. I could then change this one to a different one, like maybe not to the Panasonic, and there we could zoom in with that one. So I've just shown you, and if we play, here we have that one, yes, and as it comes to that, it's going to now do a cut. There we are. And this one has stayed because this one is not synced. I could sync it to that if I want. This one is a saved view. Wherever I do this, move it to, or zoom in and out, or change the camera, it will save that for next time. So next time I open up DOTE with this transcript, it will know that this is the view we had. This one is tracking to all these video cues down here. So you can see, if I go back and play through, there's the jump cut that I've added. I've just added that, and I could just click that and delete it. And now we've lost it and we've gone back to the view we had before. So that just shows you a bit of cinema. So you can have a Hollywood production for your transcripts. But of course, what we'd like to do is sometimes zoom in and out to be able to see things in a little bit more detail somewhere. And then another time we don't want to have that. So we can actually have one camera, one primary video doing that and the other one doing something else.
Questions on masking of data?
Yeah, no, not in the moment. Not in the moment, but we have all sorts of plans for anonymizing data. We have some software that's in an alpha form called 360 Mash that's not released yet, that will be open source, that does anonymization. But we want to try and also build it in here so that you can do all sorts of drawings and annotations, and also anonymize. So you can say, show me the original and show me anonymized version, because you're going to do a presentation. So yeah, we might be able to, but no, you can't at the moment.
You would have to do it yourself and then have two different versions that you would turn on and off in the Media Manager if you're working on your own or presenting.
Is there a way to turn timestamp in the transcription line on demand? I'm not quite sure what on demand would mean there.
Well, you can certainly turn on and off the displaying of what line you're on while you're playing back. But I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure what you mean by on demand.
And it's a sync code, because these are timestamps are simply a number. You can see here we have a timestamps. Sync codes are what we call them, just to distinguish from time codes, timestamps, and what we call sync codes. So you can add them anytime you want. So for example, up here, we've added all of these. We might want, say, in here, this is currently where she's talking to herself.
The fuck?
And you can see, well, maybe we need to make a new line. It's not going to quite work there, but we'd have to take some of this and make break here and make a new line. We could add a new one there if we wanted. So I just grab this here, delete this, add here, and put in some. I obviously have to put in a speaker here. So I'm just going to do this quickly off the cuff. There we've got P2. We forgot the translation line. We can just add that now. P2, there's the translation line. I can just pick this up here, cut this and insert it. Oh, I don't want to take the whole thing, of course. I'll just take it for now, and then I can take this out. We want it up to here, so I'll just put that back. Oh, sorry. There, nope. I have to pick it up. I think I have I'm just going to go back and just find that again. Yeah, it's that one, and put it back in. So now you can see we've got that. And let's say here we need to have the OK. Where is that?
Oh, okay.
There's the OK. We could zoom in a bit here if you want to get it really precise. I think it's just before that. Let's go back a bit.
Okay.
There. So roughly it's about here.
Okay. Okay.
You can hear it there, and we can add the sync code there. So you see now we've got everything as it should be. Tidy it up a bit.
Just to note, that was clicking in the left margin there to create one, and then right-clicking to delete it.
Yeah, and you can move these about, so you can move them like this if you want to get it right. And if you think it's actually not that line, it's a bit later, I want to move it down here, you can move these. So you can move them at any time, and you can just right-click and delete them if you want to delete them. So I've just messed up my transcript a little bit. I think I deleted a line as well. I think I've lost the whatever it was here. Let me just add back. Roughly it was some time of running back. Let's say 1.0. Oh, I'm typing really badly here. It's nearly 11 o'clock at night here, so you can forgive us.
You're doing fine.
All right.
So the next question is,
Do your files have to be saved on a hard drive?
It is worth noting that when you import files in the Media Manager, we are making a copy of whatever media you've selected and putting it into the project folder that DOTE creates. So just be aware of that if you have very big media, that it is going to be making a copy, so it won't touch your original. And if you delete files out of the Media Manager, it's only deleting the copy that's made, not your original itself.
Yeah, and so Esther had asked, do your files have to be saved on a hard drive? Well, they need to be saved on something that your local computer can access. If that happens to be a cloud service, like you are VPNing into your university, or you want to use Dropbox, we really don't recommend that because if you want to play video, that's got to stream that live over the internet on your very slow connection. It might seem very fast, but it's not going to be fast enough for a 4K video, let alone multiple videos, as you see here. And also, then if your data is actually accessible to over the internet, it's not encrypted. So that means if you have sensitive material or data, then it's not encrypted at all. We don't support encryption, and you wouldn't be able to manage that. And then if you were sharing it because you wanted to share it through Dropbox, you're then going to have to, as you would with anything, have your own locking, checking in, checking out system, because if somebody accesses it live and somebody else does, then you're going to corrupt the files anyway. Simply all the files are plain text. So it's not a database, which like EndNote or Transana, which is actually a database, a binary database, which means if it's corrupted, it's completely lost unless they have some repair mechanism inside the software. Everything is accessible. Nothing is hidden from you. And so it can be repaired very easily. This transcript is just plain text file. We are using plain text files to tell how to format this. So it's all done in a very open way, transparent way. Nothing is proprietary. So, but we just recommend, from our experience, that things slow right down, and you get all sorts of little problems happening, especially with checkpoints and use of Git over a cloud service connection.
That said, external hard drives not a problem. So if you want to keep everything on SSDs and unplug it and share that around, that's fine.
Yeah, I take it that do your files have to be saved was a question about could it be saved somewhere else? But yeah, definitely externals are best, SSDs are best. If you have a hard drives don't do more than 100 megabits a second. If you've got 4K video, it's going to be tough to play that and to do everything else. If you've got multiple video files, it's not going to be possible. Cynthia asked, how do you anonymize a participant? Well, that's another question. That's a question that DOTE doesn't answer. DOTE is purely software to do transcription better. It doesn't do analysis for you. It hasn't got some sort of quantitative stats. It's just doing transcription, so it doesn't do anonymization either. But our other software, maybe because we mentioned that, does that by anonymizing the whole of the equirectangular, and it can do that in a number of ways too. And we will also be using much more sophisticated ways to replace faces and to do some deep fake type stuff if we ever get round to that, if we have a sustainable way of working in the future. Harlan says, brilliant, video cues, thanks. Thank you. And Justin says, can we get in touch to volunteer for beta testing? Well, if you buy the DOTE Pro community, then you can become a beta tester, and you can actually influence the roadmaps. So please buy the Pro community model. A good hint there for Justin. Cynthia says, on that bandwagon too. Esther, thanks. And Harlan, is there a plan to support more transcription systems? Not really. The problem with other systems like GATT and Jacques-Dubois is that they're non-proportional. So they add symbols which start to affect alignments. And what you'll see here is we really support alignments, except when there's emojis. You'll see this one here, there's an emoji which is causing a little problem. Emojis are not proportional. But everything is how DOTE works, especially with the Mondarian system, which if I just open that, here we have our version. Let's pull down here. You'll see we've got all sorts of alignments. All these symbols in a Mondarian system have to be aligned. And if we just start messing it up like this, adding things where they shouldn't be, then let's add like that. So I've sort of messed up all the alignment. And if I just click this little thing here, or I press Control Enter, fix them, it actually puts them all back. So it can take any number of subtiers and do realignments of all overlaps and all the overlapping symbols. In the GATT system and Jacques-Dubois, then you have things that start to distort the vertical and visual layout, and therefore that just messes up all. There's no way we can do alignments. So we would just be supporting what? We're not really supporting that much, except a few autocompletes. We'd like the whole point of this was to make it so that you don't make mistakes. So as soon as you do some crazy stuff here, I'm starting to mess up this transcript. It's giving you all sorts of help and errors saying, okay, these things, this is how you can fix that. This one here, it says, oh, there's a symbol there. Maybe this one here, you've said this, well, maybe this one, you need to have some extension, and it will actually tell you where things, like if I delete this one here, it's actually going to say some stuff here should be being finished later at line 33 or line 52, depending which one it is. Trying to find which one it is, which causes that problem down here. There are problems which DOTE is helping to solve in terms of, it's got at least 20 different errors that can be tracked and fixed in Mondarian systems. So that Mondarian system, you tend to make errors. Every single Mondarian transcript we've ever put in DOTE has errors, even Lorenzo's. Same with Gale. Most of Gale's transcripts have errors. We all have errors. Everybody makes errors. It's hard not to make errors, especially with this system, and so we track all of those. Andrea says maybe stupid question. No, it doesn't do syncing. You have to do the syncing yourself. And maybe Alex, you want to comment on that?
There's a few things. Yeah. At the moment, we've assumed that some of your pre-production will be to line up all your audio and video files in whatever video editing program you use already. So we don't do any of that auto syncing for you. I know some software will look at waveforms and find a way to link them up. We may try to implement something where you don't have to trim all your videos ahead of time, but we're not there yet. For now, you'll have to do that as a bit of a pre-production first to make sure all your videos are stitched together into one file if they've been broken up, like on a GoPro, and then trim them tops and tails, beginning and ends, so that they are the same length. That way DOTE can understand when playing them simultaneously. But I should also mention, which I don't think Paul's pointed out, but just above the top waveform, we also have the ability to choose a different waveform or a different audio source when playing back. So for example, if you have a camera that has no audio, that's not very useful. You can choose one of your lav mics, perhaps, that a participant is wearing instead. Or if you have, you also wouldn't want to see a blank waveform if the camera has no audio. So we do actually have independent selections there that'll override whatever is shown in the video below.
Yeah,
If
and
that
I was just
helps.
demoing that on here. And you can also change which audio, if you can follow the primary video here. So if it switches, you'll follow as well, but you could say, no, I only want to hear one audio file. I want to hear the Insta360 Pro all the time. And I want to see it here as well. So no matter when we switch videos or audio files, it will only show these. So you get some choices. I think Andrea admits also Premiere Pro. We have experimented a lot, even with bought software into Premiere Pro. And they don't work very well on the type of messy data, and they would not work on the videos that you see here. So we don't trust that. We don't think it can be built yet. But if you've got nice, very, very clean data, then with audio separation, then it can work, and just let Premiere do that. We don't want to redo that. There was, can you upload old transcripts? Well, you can. There is a video about doing that. Basically, you can take publications from PDFs or Word documents and then copy paste them in, and then reformat them in the DOTE style. We don't supply any importers or exporters to other software, because a lot of the things you see here are not in other software. So we're importing just the plain text with underlining, maybe with Transana, etc. Maybe Elan would be pretty tough to import with the way it does a score-based system. But Transana, we could import the sync codes, but we really don't want to. We'll just leave the legacy stuff behind and move forward from here. So we don't want to. But if somebody wants to build a converter, then we could build that in too. If they do that in an open source way, using JavaScript or TypeScript, then we can build that into DOTE in the future. If you feel like programming.
We also like to hear from you guys what features are important to be working on, and that's part of what our Discord server, Discord community is all about. Is they have some discussion. Perhaps you can find faster, better ways to do stuff and share that with the others. But also, if you have this great idea, we're always happy to hear what people are interested in. So join the Discord and be part of the conversation.
Yeah. Andrea also asks about exporting the views as well as the presentations. Well, you can't export the views, but what you can do if you just want to see the video, you can just say, show me only the video. And this is a very sort of wide screen, so I could just take out the secondary video. So in a presentation, you could just show the video, and then all your video cues would work. But they are really centered into DOTE. They don't work anywhere else. You can't export the video with some nice switches and changes, but that could be a nice feature to do, but it would be.
We're thinking about it. Just the architecture that we're using for playback doesn't really lend itself for exporting very easily. No. It's not impossible. It's just really going to be a lot of work if we go that route.
We'd have to use FFmpeg to do the heavy lifting, and I think it could be done, but it would be quite a lot of work to do. But you can do that, and you can also, if I just bring it back, you can also say, I only want to see in a Zen mode my transcript, and that could be because you have, as you see here, I've got a little comment here. You could have some very long comments. We are planning in the next release to have a much more richer commenting system, a bit like Word or Google Docs, and also commenting across multiple transcripts and projects, and then having some sort of qualitative tools. And this is our new project we're working on, qualitative tools to be able to search over all your transcripts, all your projects, and locate tagged things and phenomena in images. And so it will go way beyond this sort of primitive technical commenting that we see here. But this allows you to see this if you had very long comments. So we've got Zen mode there. Cynthia also asks, do you have separate the video file into video and the waveform? No. You can have video files with audio, or you can have audio files. So you can see here in the media manager, we have an audio file here, the wave. This is the wireless mic. They all have wireless mics on. This is the runner, the woman who's running. She has a wireless mic. We could choose that. And all the video files have audio. You could have video files without audio, whatever you want, because the audio might have been terrible. And you pick up the audio from somewhere else. So when you play that, you don't want the audio from that because there isn't one. You can choose where you want it to come from. I see Jakob's been answering that.
Yeah, and DOTE will generate the waveform for you. You don't have to have a separate audio file for your video. DOTE will pick that up automatically from your video file.
Yeah, you can see here, I can regenerate it. You can't see because it's not quite big enough, but if I just change these, so we can see it because it's not showing. It says regenerate waveform. I can do that right now.
All that's doing is if you say you edited your waveform, maybe you made it louder or something in another program, and DOTE isn't showing it right away.
There we are.
You would have to regenerate it just so that DOTE sees whatever change you made to your file without having to delete it and re-import it again.
And that I just regenerated that waveform. You could see it was fairly fast once it got started for a 3.5 minute. And that isn't the waveform there. That's for the Insta360 Pro. But if we were switching, we would see that this is the new waveform, which is identical to what it was. I just recreated it so you can regenerate. It might be you want to edit the file and you edit the file, change the audio, boost it up, and then you just regenerate the waveform here. So. Anna Rosa asks, what's the difference between private Discord channel for DOTE Pro? Well, Discord is we use a Discord because most young people, and maybe some of you are young, are using Discord. Or most of our students are on Discord because they are gamers. And also a number of people are flocking there away from Twitter as well as to Mastodon. So but Discord is not like Twitter. Discord is a closed sets of servers that do a lot of chat and allow gamers to exchange, but it's used for many purposes. And so we have our own Discord server running, which is anybody can join, and then there's public channels, and you can add there and comment, and you can say there's a bug you found. That's the general chats. But if you buy DOTE Pro, then you get into the channels for DOTE Pro, and if you buy DOTE Pro Community, you get into the private channels for DOTE Pro Community, which also has some live streaming channels, which we can live stream things. We plan to do that once a month, do live streams on topics that DOTE Pro Community users would like. So this is a sort of live stream we'll do every now and again, just public one, but we'd also like to do more private ones. So the idea is, well, there's more features there, and you get more access to the developers. It's more fun. And Harlan asks, I'm not mistaken, video queues are point-based. Can there be video queues based on segments in addition? At the moment, no. They are running, and it's a good observation you made. They are running. If I just move in here and zoom in, you can see if I just enlarge this, pull this up a bit and pull this down, you'll see this video queue runs until the next one, and either a jump cut or 1 second before you get a smooth pan. So it will smooth pan between one element of a zoom over here to a zoom over here, for example. And that's pretty primitive, but the idea was to develop video queues as a new tool, and if people like it, then we can start adding more sophisticated cinematic edits to that. We can also do it on the audio as well. You can start to boost up the audio when it gets a bit faint sometimes because somebody is speaking a bit softly, and so you can add in your own audio cues as well as the video cues.
The video cue panel is very basic. Like the smooth fade or smooth transition is a set amount for all cues. We haven't enabled different values, but that's something that's easy enough to enable if there's interest. Or similarly, if you want to also change the audio source at the same time, we could do that. So we've just done a proof of concept, and it's a very basic video queue system, and we can develop that further.
And we have the tools here. You can see there is an audio level meter here, and there is a mute button. These don't really work yet.
Well, but they work. They're just not very useful.
but they're not queuable with a queue here. But you can take down the volume, for example, here when you play back.
Og så, når jeg siger go, så starter vi.
Well,
Er I klar?
no, you can't.
3, 2.
Well,
I'll have to look at that. Maybe that was only before you start playing.
yeah.
It's almost time is almost up.
Yeah. But did we answer that question with Harlan? Segments can be useful. Yeah, segmentation. So you could say, I want in this segment to do something, and you could have multiple overlapping segments.
You just need more queues at this point.
Yeah, more queues. You could apply you could have a different video queue system for each video panel. You can see, you can start to add, why not 3 video panels, 4 video panels, a whole mixing desk. And then you end up with Premiere. We've rebuilt Premiere, but maybe some aspects of that would be really useful for doing.
So we'd like to hear, like, we were going to invest the time to do every bell and whistle we could think of, unless it was something that is truly useful to the community. So these are all just concepts that you can play with. And if there's something you really like, let us know.
And we developed these because we needed them, because we've been working with 360 data for the last 6 years. We did it in virtual reality. And we thought, well, no, we need something to do transcription. In fact, this transcripts in DOTE can be brought into virtual reality in our AVA 360 VR system and shown as a screen inside virtual reality while you're analyzing. So we wanted to integrate it. And then we thought we need better transcription software. So this is what we're passionate about in developing. And we developed this because this is what we wanted to do. Jakob and I, but there are things that maybe we don't quite realize that there's a better way to do it, or there's some new things that new approaches to developing transcripts, editing transcripts, publishing transcripts, working with the video material that would be more interesting, a new feature, and we're keen to, as Alex says, to do that. Yep, time for closure. 1 minute. Jakob, you want to close up?
Yeah, I will just close up.
Just a reminder, if you think of new questions tomorrow, go join our Discord and ask them there.
Yes, so please remember, we have the web shop, we have our online help guide, we have a YouTube channel with all the video tutorials, and we have the Discord server. All of them are available on the web shop, and you can find the different links to that. Also, we would like to advertise that we are hosting a PhD course for PhD students later this year, actually just before Christmas. It's almost like a present. And you can join it, the PhD course, so please share that if you know of any PhDs. It's an online course. The only requirement is that you have a DOTE Pro license. So please share that. And also, if you like DOTE and you use DOTE in your research projects and you publish papers, please cite DOTE. That's also a currency that we're working in to show off to our heads and deans that the people actually like what we do. But otherwise, thank you very much for showing up. It's getting late and we have to get up to work again tomorrow. But for some of you, it's early in the morning, and we hope you have a very nice day. But thank you for joining this DOTE webinar. And good night.
Yes. Yes, thanks all for coming, and tell your friends.